There is just something extraordinary about opera. It is the best. There's no two ways about it. It's the most complete art form for me.
Putting on an act? Hello! You think I'm putting on an act? Me? You know me well. I'm not the sort who could ever pretend. Not at all. Not at all.
I suppose it's about 8 years since I last did an opera. Well, it was an operetta, actually. It was The Merry Widow for Welsh National. That was my last new production in an opera house. And I've kind of allowed myself to become rather sidetracked in the 8 or 9 years since then. About 18 months, 2 years ago, I approached Opera North because I thought, this is the company of all the companies in Britain where I feel I have real roots. I thought if I'm going to be able to gather my confidence anywhere, because it was a big step, it's going to be here. But the question was, what piece could I do?
The idea of Voix came from her opera agent. He said, I was wondering about, have you thought of this? And I just went, actually, that is completely perfect. Although, for her, an enormous undertaking, obviously, to come back after a long period off the stage to sing for 45 minutes on your own with nobody else to help you is a very big deal.
When the curtain goes up on La Voix Humaine, you see the central character, the only character, Elle. In our interpretation, she's a kind of chanteuse, if you like, in a French high-class nightclub. She's a performer, she sings, and she is in her dressing room and she's waiting, as she has been for some time, for her former lover, who's simply called he, to telephone her. And she's extremely nervous. I think if there is one key word to this character, it's fragility. She is very, very fragile.
She's waiting to talk to him on the phone because she desperately wants him back. However, when he rings, it becomes clear that he just wants one thing, which is this box with their letters, and then plays out a desperate attempt to bring him back.
It's the story of a relationship. It's a story of the end of a relationship. It's the story of how not to end things. I suppose it's a morality tale, really.
This is a universal story. It's a story about you and me and everyone. You know, it's not about kings and queens. It's about everyone who's ever sat by a telephone desperate for some special person to ring.
How do you expect me to know? Perhaps he thinks I've caused you some harm. Poor creature! I have no reason at all to bear him a grudge.
La Voix Humaine, which is a very intimate piece. It's a one-woman play written in 1930, I think, by Cocteau. But 25 years later that his friend Poulenc set it to music. And this is not an opera libretto. I mean, what he did was to set verbatim Cocteau's play to music. So there are no flowery bits, there are no sort of slightly vague poetic moments with people talking about love, where the orchestra play lavish long tunes. That does not happen.
I, to begin with, was really concerned for it because it's such a challenge. But in a crazy way, I sort of see now what that was that to actually take something that's such a challenge, so immersive, such a huge piece like that she could really become somebody else and really open up a different kind of performance to those ones that have been asked of her before.
This is a role I have been afraid of but fascinated by for as long as I can remember. It's a terrifying piece. It's a terrifying role. I thought, I've not sung on an opera stage for 8 years. Can I really come back with this, the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life?
In a sense, any performance of La Voix Humaine, you're starting from scratch because it's such an emotional thing, and the person performing it has to feel those every single time. And so it's a kind of improvisation, I guess, every time you do it. And so you can never say that that's fully prepared, because a certain feeling might take you in a different direction on one run compared with another run. But I'm looking forward to that, and Lesley's absolutely the right artist to be doing that.
It's a blank page, this piece, because of course there are other characters in the piece. There are other characters in the story, and they speak during the run of the opera, but you actually never hear them. So you have to work out what this woman is hearing down the telephone, what the man is saying to her, with whom this relationship is breaking up, what all the other strange voices on the line are saying. Because if she says, I don't know, somewhere in the script, you have to work out what she's saying I don't know about. So there's a lot of kind of neutral text in the play and in the opera, which actually only makes sense if in your mind as the performer you have a question that has been asked you, and a specific question.
At first I was worried about that, because I thought, well, there's nobody to actually stimulate me or play off. But then I've got him on the phone and the other people who butt in, and that I found is more than enough, because I've memorised what he says and I know what the other people are saying to me. I can imagine them there, and I found that's actually been enough for me to be able to, I think, successfully pretend there are other people on the stage with me.
You are so kind, nor did I didn't think I had the courage. Putting on an act? Hello? You think I'm putting on an act? Me? You know me well. I'm not the sort who could ever pretend. Not at all. Not at all.
When we hit on this as the piece for Lesley's return, I was very pleased that Aletta was able to do it. She's incredibly emotionally connected with any of the characters in the work she does. In Voix, I think it's just her incredible honesty and just that connection with the text, which of course is what Lesley has so brilliantly, and why it was such a good piece for her, because she's such an incredible communicator.
One of the revelations for me of going through this whole process of 6 months is just how differently you can approach this piece, from how many angles you can come at it. It doesn't have to be done in one particular way. And secondly, although I knew this with my head, I think I now know it with my heart, that difference between interpretations is 99% down to the actual person on stage. So actually, you can intellectualize, you can make group decisions about how things are done, in particular the conductor and the director, but ultimately the performance you see on stage is something that's created by that person, that performer, sometimes in ways you can't even analyze. I can't see what it is that Lesley does to make that Lesley, but she does.
Discovering my Elle has been a real process, a real adventure, quite a gradual process, really. What's been fascinating is we've gone through all the different emotions that she clearly is experiencing, and some in the end I've chosen to internalise, and some are very evident. And what's helped me immeasurably with making those choices has been hearing the orchestra. When I got together with them in the Howard Assembly Room, I don't think I've ever been happier in my life. That was just heaven, to be standing in the middle of the orchestra. Wyn very kindly let me stand right in the centre. So I had all the instruments all around me. And Poulenc is a brilliant composer, because he gives you all that you need, as all great composers do, all the facets of her personality and her various reactions to the experience she's having are there to be found in the score. It's it's just a question of delving deeper and deeper until you find absolutely every corner that you can.
It was, I mean, when you're working on the music of a show, you sometimes don't get a chance to actually just sit back and just watch it as a theatrical performance. And the first night was almost the first chance I had to do that. I found myself understanding things in the piece that I'd not understood before. It's wonderful because she's so precise dramatically, Lesley, and the way she delivers each line and the facial expressions and the body language, you forget it's acting and you simply follow the story. And there are certain lines that she and I have worked on musically together many times for kind of technical musical reasons, and then you suddenly see them in this context delivered to you, an audience, by this amazing performer, and you think, of course, that's what that line is about. And actually I never really realised that until tonight, even though I've read that line in the score and indeed heard her sing it many times. But experiencing the whole experience, dramatic as well as musical, is a whole new dimension.
What was wonderful on the opening night is that I was still finding little things. Oh, if I just inflect that word in that way, it'll give that meaning as opposed to the other. And one of the most gratifying things, actually, that Wyn said to me was afterwards, he said, every time you sing it, I hear a new little thought, a new idea. I understand her better. And that's my job, really, to help those who've chosen to come and get to know this person, Elle, through me. My job is to make her fully understood, fully available, to make her clear. Working with Aletta Collins and Jo Austin, her assistant, and with Wyn Davies, our conductor, and the wonderful music staff, Marty Pickard, David Barnard, it is a real team effort, and we've all immersed ourselves in the tragic story of this extraordinary woman.
Lesley is, although she's a star, she's actually very naturally a team worker and very naturally takes on board ideas from around her, and throws ideas back into the melting pot.
Immediately when Martin was working with her musically, I know, they were coming up with interpretative questions, so then we involved Aletta. So, the whole thing has been a little team putting it together over a long period of time. It's the quintessence of opera in this one 45-minute piece, with everybody being interdependent.
It really has felt that all of us have been working very closely together. Wyn as well as a very strong collaborator in it. And I think Poulenc really set a play to music. So I think, well, the way I've taken it anyway, is that Poulenc was trying to, within the music, make something very dramatic. And so the three of us, Lesley and Wyn and myself, have tried to really collaborate to make sure that happens.
And I love that. I love being a part of the building of a piece of art. I love the collaboration. I love the fact it's very much a team effort, that everybody has an input into the person I'm playing. I love that. Is an amazing company. In the 30 years since I worked for them originally, they've grown into an extraordinary international world-class act. I can't tell you, there are not the words to express how grateful I am to Opera North for allowing me to come home in so many ways, to come home to the Grand Theatre, to Opera North, to come home to opera. And I've never felt so welcome. I've never felt so right since I first started in opera all those years ago. You know, when you have that feeling that you're just in the right place with the right people at the right moment in your life doing the right thing. And it's a fantastic feeling of a kind of coming together. And then to be able to have the chance to do a piece that utilises all you have to give. I don't think there's anything else I could ask for in life.